You wake up before sunrise, work until your body hurts, plant, harvest, carry weight, pay taxes, day after day, year after year, and yet it remains poor. Now imagine living like this your whole life, with no real chance of rising, growing, or getting rich. For most of human history, hard work was not the path to wealth. It was only the way to survive. What kept people from thriving? And when did that start to change? Today you will discover the historical truth that almost no one tells. For much of history, especially in the European Middle Ages, a person's economic fate was determined at birth. Society was structured in rigid layers: nobility, clergy, and peasants. If you were born the son of a peasant, your life was practically decided. Social mobility was extremely limited, not because people did not strive, but because the system was structured to maintain social order. The feudal economy revolved around the land. The land was the main source of wealth, and whoever controlled the land controlled everything. The peasants worked in the fields belonging to the feudal lord. In return, they received military protection and the right to cultivate small plots for their subsistence. But the significant part of the production was delivered as tribute. In addition, there were taxes to the king and tithes to the church. The result? Even in years of good harvest, the surplus rarely went to those who produced. Working more meant producing more, but not necessarily getting more. The system did not reward individual effort, it rewarded social position. And this structure was not unique to medieval Europe. Similar systems existed in different civilizations, ancient empires, agrarian societies of Asia, African kingdoms, and even in ancient Rome. Wealth was linked to property and political power, not to the intensity of physical labor. The effort kept you alive, but he rarely changed his condition. Before the Industrial Revolution, most economies were agrarian and low productivity. Simple tools, manual production, total climate dependence. Even with heavy work, production was limited by the available technology. Historians and economists call this period of pre-industrial economics the Malthusian trap. The concept is simple. As production increased, the population grew. As the population grew, average income fell back to subsistence levels. That is, temporary advances did not generate lasting prosperity for the majority. It wasn't a question of laziness. It was a structural limitation. Without scalable technology, there was no sustained growth in per capita income. The world was, on average, poor, extremely poor, and that lasted for thousands of years. There is a crucial difference between income and wealth. Income is what you earn by working. Wealth is what you own. For most of history, workers did not possess the means of production. They did not own the land. They did not own the tools. They did not control trade routes. Without ownership, there was no significant accumulation. Even successful artisans and merchants faced limits imposed by guilds, monopolies, and local regulations. Accumulation was restricted. The economic structure favored those who already owned assets. In addition to structural limitations, there were constant risks. Fomies, epidemics, withdrawals, political instability. The Black Death in the 14th century, for example, devastated entire populations in Europe. A bad year could destroy decades of effort. Without affordable banking systems, insurance, or social safety nets, any crisis could nullify individual progress. Hoarding was difficult. Maintaining was even more difficult. In the past, wealth did not depend only on physical effort or talent. It relied heavily on social and political connections. Having powerful friends, influential family members, or direct access to the king could transform someone's life much more quickly than years of fieldwork. In ancient Rome, for example, plebeians with exceptional abilities could rise socially, but only if they got a patron. This patron, a nobleman or politician, had the power to open doors that meritocracy simply could not reach. The ordinary worker, even with skills, was restricted to his original position. During the Middle Ages, family alliances and strategic marriage were forms of social mobility. A peasant who managed to serve a noble well, or a craftsman who approached influential guilds, could obtain privileges. But these cases were exceptions, not rules. Even in the emerging pre-industrial economy, traders who knew how to use their trade networks, navigating between cities, states, and kingdoms, accumulated wealth exponentially. Physical labor and manual skill were important, but without influence they did not guarantee safety or real growth. What does that teach us? That history is full of examples in which those who worked hard alone remained poor, while those who combined effort with social intelligence and connections prospered. Today, this is still relevant. Networks of contacts, mentorships and partnerships can multiply opportunities, and understanding this completely changes how we see the relationship between effort and wealth. In the 18th century, something began to change. The Industrial Revolution introduced machines, new energy sources, and more efficient production methods. For the first time in history, productivity began to rise sustainably. This allowed real increase in per capita income. Social mobility has not become immediate or universal, but opportunities have begun to emerge. Global trade, credit expansion, and urbanization have changed economic dynamics. The effort has come to have more return potential, especially when combined with innovation and ownership. Modern capitalism has brought three transformative elements: more defined property rights, gradual access to capital, mass education. These factors allowed individuals to accumulate assets. The job is no longer just physical and includes knowledge, technology, and management. Scale became possible. An invention could generate wealth beyond the local community. Companies could grow beyond a village or city. This has not eliminated inequalities, but created paths that did not exist in the past. If you look at the history of economic progress, you will notice a clear transition. Physical work no longer being the central path to wealth and has given way to strategy, planning, and long-term vision. In the feudal era, the laborer who grew tired in the countryside received exactly what he needed to survive. In the Industrial Revolution, the worker who operated machines began to have some return, but still limited. The true multiplication of wealth occurred only when one combined work plus investment plus scale. The example of merchants and inventors from the 18th and 19th centuries illustrates this. Many were no longer physically strong but had vision, boldness, and courage to invest in new methods, machines, and international trade. They understood that work alone was not enough. It was necessary to use the work to generate something greater, something that grew even without being physically present. In the modern world, this same principle holds. Content creators, digital entrepreneurs, and investors don't get rich just because they work long hours. They get rich because they use resources, systems, and strategic knowledge to multiply their results. This reinforces the lesson that history has left us. Hard work is important, but without strategy, ownership, and scale, it rarely transforms lives in extraordinary ways. The central point? Historical wealth was never distributed fairly. It was structured by systems of power, ownership, and connections. And understanding this logic allows us to better navigate the world today, avoiding past mistakes and seizing opportunities that were once exclusive to the elite. The great historical lesson is not that hard work is futile. It is that hard work in isolation, without access to property, capital, or scale, rarely generates lasting wealth. In the past, most people did not have access to these elements. Today, despite the challenges, there are mechanisms that have not existed for centuries. Accessible investments, digital entrepreneurship, global education, broad markets. The historical difference is structural opportunity. History shows that wealth is not born of effort alone. It is born from the combination of effort and favorable economic structure. Understanding this changes how we view the past and the present. If this video opened your eyes, imagine what you still don't know about the history that shaped the world we live in. Here in this channel, we do not repeat myths. We reveal historical facts that transform mentality. Sign up now. Leave your like so more people discover this truth. And comment down here, do you believe that today hard work is enough to get rich? Your opinion can generate the next video. See you in the next chapter of the story.